With that, we go to the gentleman from Ohio who's keying up his mic, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hall, you've got 48 years of experience with the IRS. In your annual reviews and evaluations, were those all positive?
Yes, sir, they were.
And most of the time that you've spent at the IRS, you dealt with applications for tax-exempt status?
Yes, sir.
You're viewed as an expert in this field. Is that fair to say?
Which field, sir?
Dealing with applications for, I mean, you can, you know, you're dealing with politicians here. You can give the yes answer. That's fine. We're used to boasting and
I'm
bragging.
very knowledgeable about working applications.
Okay, so you're an expert. Isn't it true you've conducted the training sessions, right?
Yes, I have.
And in some of those training sessions, Lois Lerner even showed up and was present at some of those training sessions. Is that true?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay. We've been other witnesses we've talked to have said that that's the case. And you were assigned the now famous 2 test cases that dealt with 2. I think it's important. These were test cases of Tea Party groups. You were assigned those 2 cases. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you, in your testimony, you said those cases were taken from you in August of 2011. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And they were given to, my understanding is they were given to Hillary Gohausen. Is that correct?
That is correct as far as I know.
And can we put the slide up real quick? Because we want to talk about, you know how long Hillary Gohausen had been at the IRS when she got those cases? Do you know?
I'm not sure how long.
Well, we do, because we ask her. And how long have you been with the IRS is a question that Hillary. I've been with the IRS since late April 2011. Prior to this time, had you had any experience in campaign intervention, lobbying, or as it relates to tax-exempt organizations? No. So we got a lady who's been at the IRS 4 months, never dealt with this area, who now gets the 2 infamous test cases. They take them from a guy who's been there 48 years with stellar evaluations, and they give them to this individual. Correct?
Yes,
okay, fine. So here's what I want from your testimony. They were taken from you after you made recommendations on how to deal with the test cases. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, and just for the other side to know, the recommendations were split. You said one group should be approved for tax-exempt status, and one should be disapproved and get further information, further data. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they gave them to someone who had no experience dealing with this. And they also took them away from you after, according to your testimony, you met with the chief counsel's office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this is, I think, important to understand. The real harassment of Tea Party groups wasn't just the fact that they applied and maybe were denied. The fact was they had to wait. They never got resolution. Because even if you're denied, you have an appeals process. You can finally get some closure through an appeal process. So the real harassment was never getting to an answer. Mr. Hall, with 48 years experience, the expert, conducts the training sessions, gives recommendations on the test cases, and they say, oh, wait a minute, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to hold these cases. We want to continue to further harass these entities. And furthermore, we're going to take them away from you and not give you any more. And we do that after he's made the recommendations and after there's been a meeting with the chief counsel's office. That's why this is all about Washington and this chief counsel's office, and why we're going to have Mr. Wilkins in front of this committee at some point in the future. Ms. HOFACRE, you're a public servant. You've served at the IRS for 14 years, I think, if I got that right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Prior to that, you served our country wearing the uniform of our country as a veteran. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I was both active duty and reserve.
Tell me how you felt when Lois Lerner, with the plan in question on May 10th, goes public and says this was inappropriate actions by line people in Cincinnati.
Sir, like I said before, it was like a nuclear strike, and I still think
that's a term you used with
the earlier interviews.
With your interview with staff, a nuclear
Correct.
strike. And so you would agree with Cindy Thomas, one of your bosses in Cincinnati, who said people in Cincinnati felt like they were being thrown under the bus.
I'm not sure the context that was stated in, but literally that statement, I would agree with that.
Let me ask you one other question here, and then I'll close, Mr. Chairman. You were asked in your interview by our staff, Ms. HOFACRE, this specific question. Do you think the public has been purposely misled by assertions that Cincinnati was to blame? And your response was?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I think your response, was, according to what we have, was
yes.
Exactly. So statements made by folks in Washington, 2 rogue agents, this narrative that was trumpeted out there and bandied about, statements made by the White House press secretary, apparent conduct by IRS officials in Cincinnati, IRS line personnel had improperly targeted conservative groups. They were purposely, according to your statement, you think folks in Washington were purposely, that's the key point, You said you think it was a purposeful misleading of the facts and what really took place.
Sir, in my opinion, when Lois Lerner made that statement, that would be correct.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.